Any questions so far?
No?
Okay. Raj is ready too? No. There you go. Okay. Team Romeo, please start your presentation.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I am Jeremy Tang,
I'm Julia Peppers.
My name is Yugoda.
And I'm Hazel Devon.
and we are Team Romeo, and we are going to be looking into Nidec Motor Corporation and Nidec Corporation. Nidec Motor Corporation is a subsidiary of Nidec Corporation, which is based in Japan, and what they specialize in basically everything that spins and moves is going to be them. So they're looking into everything that basically has to do with motors. And what we're specifically looking into for this case competition is a new technology opportunity called Foresight.
So Nidec has entered a new market, IIoT, Industrial Internet of Things, and they have created this new piece of technology called Foresight. This piece of technology will allow Nidec to put Foresight on their motors and predict a problem before it happens. And predicting this problem before it happens reduces the cost of fixing it. Foresight is basically going to use predictive management. Maintenance is what they call it. This will benefit Nidec and the end users. It will benefit Nidec because it will bring a trustworthiness from consumers and it will increase their brand image and loyalty. It will benefit Nidec another way because it uses aspects of their mission and vision by creating sustainable and innovative technology. It benefits end users by giving them a safety net, knowing that this product that they're using, motor, is being monitored and they won't have to incur expenses if something does happen. They'll incur some expenses, but it won't be costly like it would be with preventative maintenance. So, like all new products, there are challenges with bringing something to the market. We were tasked with finding solutions to the challenges that Nidec faces. The challenges that we were presented with in this case are positioning this product in the market and the strategy, including Nidec's OEMs, organizational equipment manufacturers, and MROs, maintenance, repair, and overhaul services into this industry without cutting their revenue and competing with them, and data protection and global guidelines for data security.
Now that we have a background of the company and the case, we are going to look at how Nidec has created strategic and competitive advantage for this particular product. We know that this is a very differentiated product targeting a particular niche of the market, and it also is lower in price, so they have definitely created that for, Nidec has created that advantage for them. So how does it maintain it? So it is, since it is a first kind of product in the motor industry, they have a first mover advantage, and by that they are going to create a very strong brand loyalty and people who will adapt to this technology. They have a differentiated product. That means they can also have a leverage pricing it and implementing different strategy that they can use to place this product. Apart from that, we are also going to look at how they can retain this advantage by keeping in mind the challenges that they are facing from end consumers along with the OEM and MRO, which stands for original equipment manufacturers, and maintenance, repair, and overhaul services.
So we do realize that Nidec has a competitive advantage, but like my colleague mentioned, how to sustain it. In order to sustain it, you have to consider distributors, consumers, and competitors. So we want to position this product as a focused, differentiated product. We know this market is narrow, so we're focusing on a single segment in this market, and this product being one of a kind in the industry makes it different. And making it different, you can price it as a premium product, and customers see value in premium instead of pricing it as something labeled expensive. Therefore, Nidec will benefit from the premium product prices, and customers will see value in this company. Now with competitors, to create a sustainable competitive advantage, you can't compete, but you have to consider the competitors. So in order to consider the competitors and not compete, is to patent this technology and license it. And licensing it to competitors will involve them in the process, but allow Nidec to also get royalties and not focus on competing. Because focusing on aggressive competition, Nidec can lose a competitive advantage because they can't focus on innovative technology and advancing this technology. Advancement of Foresight is going to be a reason why Nidec can create a sustainable competitive advantage. Now for the distributors, you want to supply complementary products. And the complementary product of this will include them in the process by training them to understand and utilize it for themselves. And this my colleague will get into.
So this is where we're going to look at the service and maintenance of our providers, also known as the OEM and the MROs of our company. So we want to address the issues that come with this new product, such as the lack of face-to-face interactions with their customers that we're missing out on, and them feeling like we are now their competition. So our solution is to educate and train them and teach them how to interpret and analyze the data. That way they can also use it. And the more familiar they are with the new product, then they won't see it as a threat anymore. For maintaining relationships with the customers, we think it would be a good idea to implement some notifications for the customers, either from the distributors or just from the platform as a whole, and also allow customers and distributors to communicate together about the product, which would bring back the personalization that they had previously. And since we're going to lose revenue on the in-person inspections that we had previously, a way to negate this is by first educating them on the benefits of this platform and how it can also save them on costs. Not only Nidec, because they will no longer have to pay for transportation and the time of the employees to go and look at machines that don't even need to be fixed. Instead, they can look at the analysis and decide, and they can fix more machines in that time and make more money on the parts and repairs that do need to be fixed. Another option is to make Foresight more of a subscription type of service, so they can buy or rent Foresight, at least in the beginning, as an initial penetration of the market. And then an alternative would be to eliminate competition for distributors by making them exclusive authorized dealers to the service of the product. Now for product positioning, we're going to look at it from two perspectives, the consumers and the distributors. So for the consumers, we want to add value for the consumer by making it practical in their eyes. So we would show them how it's more cost effective. We compared it to another company that implemented predictive maintenance, which is Deutsche Bahn, a train company in Germany. We saw 30% reduction in their maintenance costs, which we would also predict that would happen to this company. And machine and motor life expectancy would also increase. For the peace of mind of the customers wouldn't have to worry about any last minute repairs or things breaking down and it's slowing down their production line. And also it would be more routinized for them. And then for safety, looking at Deutsche Bahn again, we saw 70% reduction in machine breakdowns. So just knowing that it's overall a lot safer for the consumers and their employees as well is a huge plus.
So now that we've talked about the practicality, product positioning when it comes to the consumers, we're going to be talking about the product positioning when it comes to the OEMs and the MROs. And what we sort of devised as one phrase that's all encapsulating for our product position is digital supervision. And digital supervision is going to be our value-added proposition to those MROs and to those OEMs. And so we sort of look at this digital supervision in sort of a two-way approach. The first way that we're going to be looking into is the market opportunity. What is going to be the future of the world and the future of this industry? And the future of this industry is moving more and more towards technology and moving more and more towards digital trends. So we can actually look at the market opportunity that we have over here. So this is one of the forecasting models that we've seen by IoT Analytics about the Internet of Things and about the entire market of predictive maintenance. And as you can see, the compound annual growth rate for this from 2016 to 2022 is forecast to be 39%, which is a super high number, and it presents a fantastic market opportunity which we can all benefit in. The next thing that we also look at, by 2022, the market as a total, the predictive maintenance market is going to be valued just under $11 billion. So you can see significant growth, and you can sort of see this trend towards predictive maintenance market. And so if we look at this inevitable market trend towards predictive maintenance, we can sort of look at the trends and see how this would affect the MROs and the OEMs. And so in order for these MROs and these OEMs to stay relevant, they're actually going to have to provide these predictive maintenance to the consumers. The reason why is because the consumers want this. You can go to a bunch of different industries and look at the trend from preventative maintenance to predictive maintenance, and we can see that the companies that utilize predictive maintenance, they've been doing well, and that trend is just going to keep going. So in order to stay relevant, these OEMs and these MROs are going to have to position themselves so that they're relevant and so they still are competitive with their other competitors. So the next aspect of this digital supervision is the price savings aspects. And what I mean by that, there are going to be less expenses. So one of the major drawbacks of the predictive maintenance for these OEMs and the MROs is the fact that they're going to be servicing less. They're going to be servicing less because of the fact that they're not going to have routine monthly inspections anymore. But what that also means is that's going to lower their variable cost too. The cost of them actually going out to go and do the inspections. So that's one aspect of the less expenses. But we also, in account for the price savings, is the diversification of the revenues. So in order to sort of counterbalance this loss and extra revenues, so what we're going to do is have this diversification of revenues. By incorporating the OEMs and the MROs into this process of data analysis, they're going to generate extra revenue that wasn't there before they were in the predictive maintenance market. So this is sort of what we're envisioning for the product positioning for digital supervision. Digital supervision provides foresight as a flexible solution and as the future for maintenance.
Now that we have looked at the first challenge that Nidec faces, we are going to move on to the second one, which is data privacy, ownership, and analytics of that collected data. We reviewed different countries' law as to who owns the data and how the data travels across borders. Many countries have different regulations for different kind of data that organizations collect. Like we looked at certain European countries, they govern their accounting and finances data collection differently than the personal data collection or telecommunication industry, or it can be different for government or public sector as well. So our suggestion is either you have your own data collection cloud infrastructure, govern it according to the local government requirements, and follow the rules. You will not be able to bring data back to your original headquarters, but you will always have access to the marketing analytics of it, like where is the company going, where is the consumer trend is going. Like just bring that insight, develop your marketing and placement strategy, and then go back to the same country and implement that. Another thing we looked at is when you are doing this and when you're bringing data back to your country, sorry, not data, but just the analytics, be sure you are also looking at the country law regarding bringing back insight as well. Have a legal consultation if you're developing that system with that particular country's government regulation. If developing your own cloud infrastructure is not in the proposition in near future, two options that stood out that you can rent these services from are Amazon and Microsoft Azure. Moving on to Amazon, it is very safe up to the standard that even US government uses it. They assure that nobody will have access to your data but yourself. You are the owner of that data. They have very strong encryption with choice of encryption keys, which means you are the one selecting what kind of security method you want to use to access your data with Amazon. They do not disclose your data unless required by the law to do so. And also their security assistance with global data protection is very strong. And you can always store your data in the region of your choice. As we all know, Amazon operates in Asia, Europe, North America. You can pick which region you want to store your main data. Moving on to Microsoft Azure, they also have very similar components, but two things that stood out was US and Europe and Swiss and US safe harbor certification. What that means, European government requires you to have this particular certification if you are going to move data from Europe to different country. Amazon Azure has a strong holding on that. So if you're looking at storing your data in Europe but you want to bring it back to your own country, this can be a very good option for you. They also do not disclose your data to any third party, including law enforcement, civil litigation, or government entity, unless you authorize them to do so or it is absolutely required by the law to abide by the law. And they also offer data encryption and isolation. That's one of their strongest suits. So now that we have looked at both the challenges and a couple of solutions, my colleague is going to walk you through the recommendation and conclusion.
As I mentioned before, we were presented with some challenges of bringing foresight into the market. The first challenge was including OEMs and MROs and positioning this product. The solution that we came up with was positioning this product as a focused, differentiated product, focusing on practicality and digital supervision, while also including OEMs and MROs into the advancement of the IIoT industry. The other problem that we looked at, that we analyzed, was data security, global data protection, and ownership. And the solution that we came up with for Nidec was to make their own infrastructure for cloud services, making those guidelines for individual business units in regions strict for those business units, but making a corporate guideline for all. That's all we have for you. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, team. Very informative, I appreciated that. And you're the only team that really did a more technical deep dive on the data management aspect. I really like that. So you did some work with Amazon and Microsoft Azure. Very well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming back to your very last statement, you're saying you would like to have a more corporate guidelines applicable to all users, or you want to customize? I'm not quite sure if I understood it correctly.
So the idea is to customize, because she mentioned that all the regions have different guidelines.
Yes.
So those business units that are in those regions,
Yeah.
customize them to those regions, but use those guidelines to create a corporate guideline across all the boards to make some consistency to bring those business units together.
Okay.
So what we were sort of looking at is, what if one company is in a region in which there are less strict regulations when it comes to data security?
Mhm.
So how could they trust someone using their data if they don't have corporate guidelines, if the country's guidelines are less strict?
Yes.
So,
Okay. So your recommendation would be to go with the highest level of privacy protection and apply this globally, or you would really want to do regional differentiated standards?
So what we're saying, I guess what we're saying, is that each region has different standards, and we know that. Then each region can make their own data standards, but they also are going to have to follow at the same time corporate guidelines. There's like sort of ways to interpret what their regulations are going to be.
Okay, thank you. Who owns the data at that point?
So from a company's point of view, if you are in creating your own infrastructure because you are collecting the data, it's your property. Though it comes from the consumer, but it's not their picture, it's not their social media, it's not their money, so they do not have same right as they would have on social media, or individual will have right on their social media files. You own that data because it's your software initially. And even if you are renting a space with Amazon or Azure, because you're the first buyer, according to the company, you own the data. They will not let your distributor or consumer have direct access unless you have shared it with them. They will not directly communicate with them. You will.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think what I liked is that you kept the problem in front of you and let the flow, which was nice. You didn't lose focus. Also, you had some good thoughts on the strategic advantage. I like that. Now, also on your slide about this premium naming, you said you're going to position it as a premium product.
Yeah, so with differentiation, if you just pricing something because you want to profit from it makes it expensive to consumers, but because we are adding foresight to this motor, it makes it a premium product because we're adding value to it. When you add value and position it as a premium product, it doesn't seem as expensive. It seems it's worth it because it's valuable to the consumer and it's valuable to the manufacturer and distributors.
Right. No, I understand. But then you thinking it premium is one thing, but the customer thinking it premium is another. So you need to think about how you're going to market it.
How to market it as a premium product. So can you answer this with the strategy with the consumer? the strategy for the consumer.
Yeah, so from consumers' point of view, as we said, you already have competitive advantage amongst competitors. You're the first mover in this industry. What you're offering them, instead of sending somebody out when the machine breaks down, you are supervising their machine digitally 24/7. And if you notice something is going to go down, you will be there before it breaks down. So you're selling it as a service that you are being covered 24/7 with this supervision. That is a premium. Your assembly line, your machine, your product, whatever it is, it's not going to break down. You're not going to lose your revenue. Your employees will not sit idle while the machine is being fixed. So identification of error, that's how we will present it to the consumer and make them see value.
So when you were talking about the data, and you mentioned, there was one of your slides where you talked about buying, rent, or a subscription service.
Mm-hmm.
How do you envision that working? I mean,
So, sorry, please finish.
no, so I was just curious as to, you've got Foresight, the product, but then you also have the data that you're collecting. You know, how would that service, buy, rent, subscription work?
So I will answer them in two different things. When we are saying subscription, because it's a new product, there are a lot of old generation business owners who are not comfortable going digital. For them, and we can ask them to rent the product or subscribe to it for 3 years, because the product itself has 3 years battery life. It attaches with magnet to the existing product. So that means they are not completely dismantling something or buying something new. They have a trial period. They will see the benefit during that 3 years, how it is saving their cost, keeping their product current, and maintaining it in good condition. So this is how we will let them into the door by allowing them to rent it. And 3 years also gives us enough time to capitalize on the investment that company has done to place that product there. It helps you recover the cost in first places. And another thing, the data that we will collect from them is, since it's our property, it is going to give us insight. Okay, this particular assembly machine is breaking down immediately in 2 years window. What did we do during this production line? Did we, like, if we use a different bolt or ring or something, will it expand the life? How can we improvise on our product collecting that data? And what kind of consistent problem these machines are facing? So, like, implement those things in original manufacturing to avoid and get rid of all those problems. So this is how we are looking at it.
You mentioned that you would train employees on the data evaluation or analysis, right? Whose employees are these?
These employees are for the OEMs and the MROs, because we're cutting this technology is cutting them out. So this is the way to bring them back in, because we look at it as Nidec would have to pay to analyze the data, but instead of using Nidec, we're going to use those OEMs and MROs that are being cut out.
Okay, thank you. Would it make sense for Nidec to actually build up that knowledge internally and sell this to the end customer?
Well, then you would be creating competition with your distributors or your service providers.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't want to do, because you want to maintain these relationships for the long run and not just be like the main company. You want to have the people that you've been with and the brands that you have accumulated over the years. You don't want to just like stab them in the back and leave them in the dust just because you created a new product.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
However, I do have a point to add, if I may. So I would also say, if you want to, if you see value in training your own staff as well. One of the point, I don't know if you remember, we mentioned you have, so out of 10 distributors, have your authorized service dealer, make them your 5 close authorized dealers, and also have your internal team for the people who are not your authorized service dealer, or who are, some of the distributors are providing service, but some of them are not. They are just selling the product. So where will the end customer go for servicing? That's when your internal team comes in, who is trained in this. So you have, you're covering customer from both the sides with authorized dealer service center and your team.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So you mentioned when applying that product, there are cost savings, right? The machine doesn't break down. What kind of cost savings? Where's the savings coming from?
So the savings is essentially coming from, with the other forms of maintenance, like preventive, the problem has already increased, basically. You're now edging toward it breaking down. But because of this new technology, you can see before it even breaks down, I can put money into this before we get to the big break. That's the most cost efficient way to do it. Because when it's a big break, take for example, an engine breaks down, it's time for a new car. But if you see that it's something happening and you can repair it before we get to that point, then you can put less money into that and sustain the car for longer.
If I can also add something, there's different types of maintenance models I could go from. If you're using a reactive model, so saying that, oh, after it breaks, that's when I'm going to get fixed, that's going to increase your cost dramatically versus preventative and versus predictive. But the thing with preventative is because you're having people inspect that, say like a monthly basis or an annual basis or whatever time frame you may choose. Even they could actually go to the machine and say, oh, there's nothing wrong, or they could diagnose it however, but those companies that are still using that services, they're still paying them even if nothing is wrong. So it's as needed basis with the predictive maintenance.
Okay, interesting.
Do you see what Nidec has as defined just to Nidec motors, or are you looking at it in a broader sense?
I'm saying because Nidec motors and Nidec, because they're a part of the same, they're part of Nidec Corporation, and Nidec Corporation is everything that spins and moves basically. This product foresight can be used not only with Nidec Motor Corporation, but anything it could be implemented with Nidec Corporation too, because they're sort of the same brand too.
Our perspective was very much global because we know you have a global presence. So just having strategy focusing in USA would not serve you in a long term. It will help you capture US market, but we also looked at that these are the things you can implement across board. It's not restricted to one region.
Yeah, but did you also think about, see, because you talked about maintenance and I like your answers, but like say if I'm an expert maintenance person, I already have my metrics. I know based on my years of experience what to do then. Now you're going to come up with a new sensor. Why do I have to spend time to validate yours? And how accurate is your sensor? So how do you break that inertia? Because if I'm an expert, I already know. I'll say, okay, after 1 month you have to do, let us say, like an oil change you talked about or an engine breakdown. I already have those procedures in place. Why do I have to implement a new thing? Because I'm so busy already in my life. So what are your thoughts? And how are you going to sell it so that they say, hey, yeah, you have a sensor. And as you know, it's never a plug-in. You put it in, you get some information. But then there's a calibration. And then there's a time to make it more productive.
I would say we will not put it as we are challenging your expertise. We are giving you another tool to add to your expertise knowledge. Instead of you traveling to the facility and then figuring out and finding out the problem, if you have that data in your hand, even before making a visit, if you receive a call from your customer, you can tell them that, hey, this is this error or that error, whether it needs immediate attention, you need to dispatch your team there, or you could wait and see if it is auto-correcting itself. So we are just giving you additional tool to use your expertise and time in more proper way, if you will.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's also because you'll also face inertia from why do I trust this data?
Yes, yes,
So,
and that's
just curious.
yeah, and that's why from customers' point of view, we said let them rent it for 3 years. That's the life cycle of your product. Let them overcome those fears, and you could do the same thing. You can let your distributor rent certain amount of motors. Let them pass it on to their customer and get feedback. It will help you in terms of getting so much learning experience, like what are their thoughts, what they think can be improved or what did not work. And it comes back to you in terms of a knowledge. You have gained your cost of the product, and for all you know, you have converted those people because the advantage that you're giving them in that 3-year window.
If I could also relate this to other predictive maintenance strategies that other companies have used. I know Deutsche Bahn has incorporated with them having trains in which they could figure out when they needed maintenance the trains. They first started 3 years ago by having a trial run with 3 trains, and now they're looking to implement in over 100 trains this system.
This information you're sharing, is it directly with the end user, or the actual owner of the motor, or is it to a service company that then is contacting the owner of the motor?
So it can work in 2 different ways. If they are buying the product through a distributor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Team Romeo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.